Tim, we're getting fast and furious, left and right, PQC guidance.
Yes.
From various
all over the place.
You and I
not always the same.
You and I podcasted on guidance from the White House, previous administration. NIST has dropped a lot of good information. The NSA.
Yep.
And one of the most recent ones was
various European countries,
and the latest one being the UK NCSC. And I just wanted to make a comment about the UK version. And this is echoing a really great post by a representative from Santander Bank, who really made a good point.
Banco Santander, yes.
Really,
who is by the way, which had a very forward-thinking, proactive, and I'll say sophisticated approach to PQC as a bank.
Oh yes, they're kind of, if not top of the list, very close.
Yeah. Yep. They're on the vanguard.
Which is great. It's so great to have a risk-averse buy-side player who is totally bought in to what's right and leading the way. Because a lot of times the sell-side folks, you and I, well, you're shills and you're just trying to sell something. Well, yeah, but it's the risk-averse people. It's the people who understand risk the best who are leading the show here. And I love that. So they made a point about the UK guidance, and I totally agree with it. And I'm going to repeat some of it here. Okay. Thank you, Banco Santander. Okay. By 2028, Tim, you have to be preparing and planning. By 2028.
I think you have to be preparing and planning like now.
By 2031, highest priority migration activities. 2031.
Okay.
By 2035, complete the migration. By 2035.
Okay.
Okay. So, no, that's too late, Tim.
Yeah. Well, 2030 is an obvious date that we've talked about. Yeah.
So, all the advice, I read the whole document. I did it so you didn't have to, from the UK. And all the advice was perfect, except for the dates. All their advice was literally, they might have listened to our podcast, Tim, because it was all the same advice that we've given, taking cryptographic asset inventory, et cetera, et cetera. But the dates in which to do these activities is probably, I would say probably 3 to 5 years too late.
So what do you think's going on there?
I don't know.
I feel like we're bumping into a lot of, I mean, to one degree you could argue that all of these dates are too late, right? Because harvesting decrypt and all the rest, but then you say, as you said to me in another podcast episode at some point, well, if you got a time machine, that's great, because I don't, right? As a paraphrase, but that's just basically what he said. And so recognizing that we don't have time machines, you go, okay, well, it's all too late. And so if it's all too late, but I don't have a time machine, what's my response? I think the sensible response is to say, well, how can I accelerate this as much as I can? Let's close that attack window, minimize that attack surface as much as we can, as quickly as we can, as much as we can. This feels to me like someone in the UK government, whoever's putting this guidance together, not wanting to pressure the enterprise and government and infrastructure providers to work faster than they want to work. Right? This kind of harkens back in a lot of ways to the mandatory revocation and the delayed revocation discussion. Well, why don't we just give them all 30 days to get it done? It's a pain in the ass. Okay, guys, I'm sorry it's such a pain. Y'all get 30 days to get it done. Well, the reason you don't get 30 days to get it done is because these certificates are no good, right? And we need to minimize that window. This feels like the same thing here, that somebody isn't being assertive enough in saying, listen, we have to minimize this window. I know it's going to be hard. Sorry, sometimes things are hard, but we have to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It almost sounds like if I cut out some of your audio and inserted, did some clever editing, we could be talking about shortened certificate lifespans.
Yeah, exactly. I think precisely it's a great analogy, Jay. It's exactly right. Why have we had so much pushback on the CAB forum mandated shortening of certificate lifespans, and why did we have so much leading up to the successful ballot? It was the same thing, which is, this is going to be hard. I don't want to do it. And yeah, I know it's going to be hard, and I know you don't want to do it, but it doesn't matter. You got to do it.
Got to do it.
Right? It's like, I don't want to go with a bleak analogy, but it's the one just occurred to me. It's like, okay, look, I know it turns out that I have cancer, but I don't want to have surgery because surgery is hard. Yeah, but the alternative is worse.
Yep.
So none of us wants to have surgery, but you need to have the surgery, right? And I think this is a similar thing here, which is, yeah, I know we all don't want to do this. I know it's going to be terrible, and it's going to involve spending money you don't want to spend, and it's going to involve moving other projects, and it's just going to be just a lot of headache and hassle for everybody. But how are you going to feel when the industrial secrets that allow you to stay in business are stolen by an advanced persistent threat and given away to your competitors overseas, and you're just plain out of business?
Yep.
Right?
Living in a world of operational but insecure systems, living in a world where your whole country, perhaps at the government level especially, is in limbo.
Right.
Everybody else in the world has already done their PQC work, but you're behind because you took the advice of your government.
Yeah.
What a crazy place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And the good news, not even the good news, the mitigating news on this is that there are a lot of sources of information, and a lot of other voices say different things, and you would hope that if you are, let's say, a major British bank, you might say, no, we're going to be on this schedule instead. And if they do that, then they can make themselves secure ahead of time. It just does seem like really unfortunate guidance to your point, which is, if someone is trusting, they say, well, this is the guidance we got. The other thing that I think we'll see, and this harkens back to the shortening certificate lifespans and stuff, I think we've seen a thread in a lot of these conversations where people who don't want to prioritize this for whatever reason, because they have another pet project they don't want to do instead, or this isn't immediately revenue generating, or they don't want to go to the board and tell them they need more money. These people actively try to find a way to justify delaying the work, right? And this is where we go back to the shortening lifespans thing, which is, and one of the things that came up in the dialogue about shortening certificate lifespans, people said, well, people aren't ready. And the response to that, which I agree with, was, yeah, and you know what? If we sat around for 5 more years, they still wouldn't be ready, because they're not going to begin to be ready until they have a deadline.
Yep.
Right? Because they are trying to find ways to justify prioritizing other things. And if someone's trying to find a way to justify prioritizing another thing, and they've got this late guidance from the UK, that could be what wins the day.
You got it, Tim.
Right?
I tell you, it's interesting to see the disparity between the advice. Like NSA, when they came up with theirs, they flat out said, giddy up.
Oh, yeah.
They were like...
Well, and even that is kind of like, on the one hand, I agree, right? 2030, 2035, those 2 dates from NIST, and NSA was synced up with that, I'm pretty sure. When you look at that, you go, wow, that still seems like a long time away.
Yep.
Honestly. Like, I get how telling people to be done earlier than 2030 probably is just giving them a deadline they won't meet, and what's accomplished by giving them a deadline they can't meet, right? Once you're giving a deadline that you know they're not going to make, then what's the difference between them being a month late and a year late and 5 years late? And so I think there's powerful arguments for giving them a deadline that you really feel like is reachable. But on the other hand, I also, when that originally came out last year, I was like, oh, that's kind of a long time away.
Tim, I'm going to give you some anecdotes from customer conversations.
Okay.
And I'm going to share this just because it's interesting. It's the most risk-averse people in the world who I've been able to speak to a few. And those people, the reason why I got to talk to them, because they said, hey, we listened to the Root Causes podcast, and we want to talk to either Tim or Jay. And I got on the phone. Mm-hmm. And they were happy to meet a celebrity, as we are.
Yes.
And I had the most fascinating conversation with these folks because they basically said, we listened. We're taking inventory of our cryptographic assets.
Good.
And here's what they said. Holy smokes.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't quite use those words.
Everybody
They
says
used slightly
that.
different words.
Everybody says that.
They said, now that we've put some resources on it, smart people in our company,
Yeah.
they all went, holy smokes. We have stuff absolutely everywhere. And in fact, some of them are smart enough to know, my AES symmetrically encrypted data at rest is not at risk. You guys taught us that on the Root Causes podcast. But we found out that we transport those symmetric tokens over RSA TLS encrypted sessions.
Right. Sure.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
The joke I'm starting to come up with now is everywhere that has electricity has a PQC problem.
That's good. I mean, I've often said every digital system in the world.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
We're saying the same thing. So the risk-averse people are having their holy smokes moment and realizing they need those 5 years.
Yeah. No, and I get why they need those 5 years. And at the same time, that feels like just 5 years of our chin hanging out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it sucks. And I know why. But still it sucks. So the other thing, just a nuance on this, and we've talked about this in the past too, which is I think it's a little bit of a mistake to start talking about single dates.
Yes.
What you really need to do
is what Michaela Mosca does.
is phase everything. Well, there's that, right? Which is you're talking about a bell curve of likelihood, right? So, but even set that aside, I think what you really need to do is you need to be saying, well, how much can I reduce the risk surface? How soon? So if I can knock out a bunch of stuff real easy and fast and make the problem go away, why wouldn't I? Right? And that's a way to start thinking about it. Don't start thinking about a perfect end date where everything is done. Break it up into compartments and chunks and say, how do I turn these white spaces into filled spaces as quickly as I can? Oh, there's a big swath here I can take off. Let's just go take care of it. Yep. Oh, these ones are hard. Okay, those ones are hard, but let's not let the hard ones get in the way of the straightforward ones, right? There's a certain amount of crack your knuckles and get it done work, and then there's some, okay, this is hard for another reason. There's a contingency, or it's unsupported, or we don't know what to do. You need to decouple those. And then you need to say, how do I crack my knuckles and get it done? So I would hope if we're going to set a 2030 date, you would hope that what the CIO is really doing is saying, okay, what can be done this year? Do it. What can be done next year? Do it. What can be done in 2027? Do it, right? And the white space goes down and down and down and down. And then at 2030, you've got some little dribbles that you have to clean up, right? That's how to think about this. Don't think about this like, oh, there's a date in 5 years, and in 5 years we're going to have it done.
Yep.
Make a Gantt chart that has it all done in 5 years.
That's
right.
This is project management 101.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think we kind of took a journey from where we started on this episode.
No, but
that's
is,
okay.
This is the
We
journey
do that
everybody's doing.
sometimes.
This is the
Right.
journey everybody.
Yeah.
So I want to end it here, and I want to pick it up in a separate podcast about the PQC game of chicken.
Okay. That'll be the title.
Let's do it.
We got the title. All right. Join us next time, or in the future, maybe not next time, for the PQC game of chicken. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jim.
This has been Ricazes.